Noswheel. Nee. Okay. Dann schauen wir uns mal das letzte Video an. Ich will noch mal ganz kurz was checken. Eine Sekunde. Okay. Dann schauen wir uns mal das letzte Video an. Und zwar von Pokémon Classics. Anscheinend bekannt in der Szene, weil Top-Kommentar war, ich bin mal kurz durchgegangen. Babe, wake up. Pokémon Classic just dropped a video. Also nicht ganz, ne? Pokémon Classic dropped. So. Und er hat ein Video gemacht über Shining. Also das Video ist 5 Monate alt. Ich hoffe, ich werde nicht deswegen geflamed. Letztes Mal war einer ein bisschen mad, weil ich ein bisschen ältere Videos anschaue. Sorry. Wir haben ein Video angeschaut, was gestern rauskam und jetzt eins, was vor 5 Monaten rauskam. Und zwar Shining Pokémon Cards Explained. Origin, Pull Rates und Crazy Prices. Ich liebäugle aktuell mit 1, 2 Shining-Karten. Vielleicht kommt da ja bald was. Wir schauen mal. Vielleicht bin ich ja hier noch schlauer und kauf sie oder kauf sie nicht.
From a mysterious red Gyarados thrashing in the Lake of Rage to some of the rarest and most expensive cards in the entire Pokemon TCG, Shining Pokemon have left a massive impact on the hobby. These cards were some of the first to capture the thrill of alternate colored Pokemon, and they remain some of the grails for collectors even decades later. In this video, we're going to explore the history of Shining Pokemon cards, how they first appeared in the games and the TCG, and what made them so rare to pull, and finally, how are their populations and prices shifting over time? I'm Pokemon Classics, and I invite you to join me for this video. Let's roll into it.
Let's roll! Okay.
Let's start with the basics. What exactly are Shining Pokemon? In the video games, Shinies were introduced in Generation 2, with Pokemon Gold and Pokemon Silver. They were alternate colored versions of regular Pokemon, distinguished by their swap and color palette, as well as a special sparkle animation. Back then, the odds of encountering one of these in the wild were incredibly low, at about 1 in 8,192 encounters, providing a unique chase for Pokemon enthusiasts. For most players out there, the first shiny they ever encountered was the red Gyarados at the Lake of Rage. That moment burned Shining Pokemon into the memory of an entire generation. Meanwhile, in the TCG, Wizards of the Coast introduced the very first Shining Pokemon cards in 2001's Neo Revelation set, with a Shining Magikarp and a Shining Gyarados, the first official secret rares since Dark Raichu in the Team Rocket set. These Shining cards were groundbreaking for several reasons. They showcased alternate colored Pokemon, matching with the video game aesthetic, but they also had more difficult pull rates and a special gameplay restriction. You couldn't have more than one Shining Pokemon in your deck, not that they were particularly playable anyway. In 2002, Neo Destiny expanded the concept with 8 more Shining cards, including fan favorites like Shining Charizard, Shining Mewtwo, and Shining Tyranitar. And unlike the Shining Magikarp and Gyarados, these cards included an
Also Raichu finde ich underrated. Das Shining Raichu sieht crazy aus.
Exposed holographic Pokemon rather than the traditional holographic background. They also introduced a triple star rarity, making these some of the most unique and highly sought after cards of the whole WotC era. However, they weren't just notable for their aesthetics. As I mentioned earlier, Shining Pokemon were introduced as secret rares and were the first set cards to have increasingly challenging pull rates. You see, back in the early days, the holographic cards were the chase cards, with pull rates of 1 holo in every 3 booster packs. However, the original Shining cards were much more difficult to pull. In Neo Revelation, the odds of pulling a Shining Magikarp or a Shining Gyarados were roughly 1 in every 18 packs, or about 2 Shining cards per booster box. Neo Destiny made them slightly more common at about 3 per box, or roughly 1 in every 12 packs. Now, I know that doesn't sound so bad, especially in comparison to the pull rates of modern chase cards of today, but this was unprecedented at the time, and during an era when WotC was significantly reducing print runs as the Pokemania of 1999 was quickly fading. And even today, these Neo boxes are extremely rare and can sell for well over $30,000 a piece. So, assuming 3 Shining cards per box, without any repeats, it would take at least 3 boxes to complete the 8-card Neo Destiny set, and that's looking at about 6 figures of cost. These cards were also some of the very last English set cards to be printed in both unlimited and First Edition Stamp Print Runs.
Das fuckt mich ab.
Layer of chase.
Also ich finde das cool für die Leute, die die sich First Edition leisten können. Ich hätte gerne First Edition unendlich teuer. Leider sehr, sehr, sehr teuer First Edition.
And collectability. To put it simply, Shining cards remain some of the hardest cards to find, and is one of the many reasons why they're so iconic today. But that's not all. After Neo Destiny, Wizards never printed another official Shining card, but the concept did re-emerge in slightly different forms throughout the TCG's history. In the mid-2000s, the EX era introduced Gold Star Pokemon, which were shiny colored cards with even lower pull rates at about 1 in every 2 boxes. In 2017, Shining Pokemon officially returned under Nintendo in Shining Legends, with 6 new Shining Pokemon including Genesect, Volcanion, Jirachi, Rayquaza, Arceus, and Mew.
Ja, später kam noch 3,
I suspect is a nod to the original Shining Mew of 2001, which was never officially released in English. These cards were given similar pull rates to their Neo predecessors of about 1 in every 15 packs. Meanwhile, 3 other Shining Pokemon were also released as Sun and Moon promos, including Celebi, Ho-Oh, and Lugia. Another clear nod to the Neo era in the Johto region. Finally, we can't forget the 2021 Celebrations reprint of Shining Magikarp, commemorating Pokemon's 25th anniversary. Now personally, I wish they would have gone with the Shining Gyarados, given its connection to the Game Boy games, and its objectively better artwork, but that's just my opinion. It's also worth noting that Pokemon has gone and taken this mechanic into slightly different directions in modern times, with hundreds of shiny Pokemon cards and even Radiant variations of select Pokemon. I guess it would be fair to consider these cards Shining Pokemon as well. However, for simplicity's sake, we're going to stick to just those with Shining in their name as we look at their historical valuations. Alright guys, to wrap up this video, I wanted to share some of the historical valuations and population data for the Shining cards from the Neo eras, and we're going to start with Neo Revelations Shining Magikarp and Shining Gyarados. Now as you can see, the 5-year turnover for these cards in both PSA 9 and PSA 10 has...
was haben wir hier? Population PSA First Edition 10er und 9er. Okay, 2025. Er ist einmal gefallen, 2024. Kann ich mir nicht vorstellen, aber okay. Aber dann natürlich auch ein Comeback gemacht. Hier auch gedroppt. War 2024 Pokémon Down? Na, hier ging's. Crazy. Okay, vielleicht auf PSA 10.
Been pretty phenomenal. The Shining Gyarados recently sold for $18,000 in PSA 10, with the Magikarp at $7,800. So clearly, the Gyarados is a highly loved, beautiful artwork. It's one of my favorite cards. Meanwhile, in PSA 9, the current...
Ich mal kurz das nachschauen. Shining Gyarados. Was kostet das Unlimited als PSA 9? Also, wir machen mal Moment, Englisch und First Edition 9. PSA 9 2,3K. Double Swirl. Wo habe ich gelesen? Double Swirl. Double Holo, achso. Okay. Check. Okay. Und Deutsch, wenn wir mal schon hier sind. Wenn wir uns mal deutsche Karten anschauen. Oh, gibt's ja fast gar nichts. 4K. Eieieiei.
Prices for these cards are $1,600 and $3,044 respectively, and those have also seen significant growth from 2020. In terms of populations, both of these cards are very difficult to grade, with populations just over 100. The Magikarp is sitting at 126 in PSA 10, and the Gyarados slightly lower at 116. Now, interestingly, the Unlimited counterparts haven't really seen sales of PSA 10 copies here in 2025. At least I couldn't find any, but you can still see the price growth going from 2020 to 2024. Meanwhile, the PSA 9 copies have also seen price growth, and again, the Gyarados is outpacing the Magikarp significantly. In fact, this card has almost increased 400% from where it was just 5 years ago. The other interesting thing here is how much lower the population report is for the Shining Magikarp in PSA 10. with only 65 copies compared to the Gyarados at 120 copies. Now, one of the interesting things you'll notice is for some of these cards, there's very little price growth going from 2020 to 2024. That's because the last few years, there's been a bit of a downturn for the Pokemon market after that surge in 2020. However, here in 2025, it's a different story entirely, with many of these cards, really all of them, surging in price. Probably most noticeable here on the Charizard and PSA 10, which recently sold for 19,000.
Okay, ich will mal kurz das nachgucken. Wo ist Kabutops? Hier. PSA 9200? 1900 PSA 10? Boah. Kabutops gefällt mir sehr, 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 sehr gut. Das ist Unlimited oder First Edition? Shiny Kabutops. Boom. Wenn wir uns mal anschauen, hier Min-Copies. First Edition. PSA 9. Das ist eine Banger-Karte für 2K. PSA 8500 Unlimited. Okay, da schaue ich mich wieder nochmal an.
Probably most noticeable here on the Charizard and PSA 10, which recently sold for $19,492.
Ja, gut, ist auch Charizard.
That is significant growth.
Jede ist halt eine
I also
Charizard.
wanted to highlight the Mewtwo
abgegangen.
and PSA 10 that sold for $7,500, which is almost double where it was just 5 years ago. In the PSA 9s, one of the things I find interesting is how Kabutops and Celebi seem to be neck and neck with one another. And that's interesting given the large disparity in their PSA 10 prices.
Wieso?
Meanwhile,
Stimmt. Celebi ist einfach mal 5K und das ist 2K und hier ist es fast gleich. Also PSA 9 Undervalue Celebi vielleicht. Vielleicht.
shift our attention over to the population reports. The Celebi has the lowest population in PSA 10 of these 4 cards. And as expected, the Charizard would have the highest population, given how many more copies of the card had been graded because of its value. And for the unlimited counterparts, it's really the same story, with the Celebi and the Kabutops showing the least amount of growth. Meanwhile, fan favorites like Charizard and Mewtwo have seen the most significant growth. Now, one that I wanted to highlight in particular is the Mewtwo, which in PSA 10 has gone from $1,788 5 years ago up to $4,800 today. It's a pretty substantial growth. This actually is the only card in PSA 9 that is more than doubled, again, is the Mewtwo, going from $600 in 2020 up to $1,550 in 2025. And once more, we can see that the Celebi has the lowest population of the 4 at just 283 copies in PSA 10. Still, that is plenty of copies out there available for collectors that are actively pursuing this card. Now, as we return our attention back to the first edition counterparts, we have the other 4, Noctowl, Raichu, Steelix, and Tyranitar. And once more, we've seen many of these cards more than double. The Raichu in PSA 10 has gone from $2,400 up to $6,000. And my favorite of these 4 is the Tyranitar. And that one recently had a sale for $8,100, which is mind-blowing. In PSA 9, we also see the Tyranitar leading the pack here with a sale of $3,300. Again, that's more than double where it was 5 years ago. With populations, many of these are under 200. The Raichu actually has the highest population in PSA 10, and the lowest here is tied between the Noctowl and the Tyranitar, both of which have a population of 175. Finally, we have the Unlimited Brethren, and Tyranitar is leading the charge, selling for $3,720 in a PSA 10. That's up significantly from $1,414, where it was selling in 2020. The Tyranitar is also the only card that has more than doubled in price in PSA 9, where it last sold for $1,300. Not surprising.
Steelix PSA 10 Unlimited 1000 und Oktober.
Okay. Tyranitar has the lowest PSA 10 population at just 261, with Noctowl not too far behind at 272. Given that fact, it's surprising to me that Noctowl doesn't receive more love than it's getting here in the Neo Destiny era. Anyway, considering their high prices and lowish populations, it's no surprise that the Shining cards of the Neo era are some of the most highly sought-after cards out there in Pokemon. From their humble beginnings in the Neo era to their explosive comeback during the modern Shiny craze, Shining Pokemon have always represented some of the most exciting and elusive cards in the TCG. Their rarity, their unique artwork, and their connection back to the games have fully cemented their status as legends and icons of collecting. But anyway, you guys will have to let me know which Shining Card artwork out there is your favorite. And if there was one Pokemon that...
Hey, was ist mein Lieblings-Shining-Pokémon? Also wenn wir jetzt uns nur die ersten anschauen, dann hätte ich gesagt, das Raichu. Das Raichu sieht crazy aus. Und von allen, also wenn wir, ich finde sogar die Moderns, finde ich einen Shining noch geiler. Und das ist, also das ist wahrscheinlich, Leute finden das komisch, wenn man das so ausspricht, aber Arceus. Das sieht crazy aus, wie die Struktur mit der Karte ist und wie so ein Rainbow-Effekt nach außen, wie sich die Karte so öffnet. Brutale Karte, mega underrated. Alle gehen bei der Modern, glaube ich, nur aufs Rayquaza und aufs Lugia. Das Arceus, crazy underrated.
That currently doesn't exist in Shining form that you would like to see immortalized in this way? Which would it be? For me personally, I'd have to go with Alakazam, but...
Wenn's noch, Metagross.
That's my favorite Pokemon. Anyway, guys, I thank you all for joining me for this video today. And if you want to learn more about Pokemon card history, I'll leave a link to my video about Gold Star Pokemon cards, which is pretty fascinating. But anyway, guys, always reminding you that the classics never go out of style. And don't forget to have fun while you're collecting. That's what this is all about.
It's all about fun.
Classics, and we'll see you all with the next video. Bye, everybody.
Bye, everybody. War ein cooles Video. Das mit Gold Star können wir uns als nächstes anschauen. Like, abonnieren. Very good. Machen wir very good Video. Very good Video. Smiley. Boom. Okay, aber ich mache, glaube ich, fertig für heute. Weil ich fühle mich leider ein bisschen am Kränkeln. Nase ist zu und Kopf und alles. Machen wir nächstes Mal weiter, okay? Danke. Schönen Tag noch. Tschüss.